Welcome to Kozversations, where your host, Carl Kozlowski, talks with the world's most interesting people. And now, this week's Kozversation. Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to another edition of Kozversations. I'm your host, Carl Kozlowski, and coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles. As always, bringing you some of the coolest people in the worlds of pop culture, politics, and beyond. And today, I'm excited to be bringing one of the greatest comics on Earth, possibly the greatest female comic around. Paula Poundstone has been beloved by everybody who knows anything about being funny for nearly 4 decades now. And she's not only a star on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR and her own podcast, the Paula Poundstone Institute. She also has recently been the author of the hilarious best-selling book, The Totally Unscientific Study of the Search for Human Happiness. She'll be appearing at the Thousand Oaks Performing Arts Center on May 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Paula Poundstone. Hey, Paula, I was wondering, thanks for taking the time. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about where things stand with the whole Me Too movement and, the ability of women to stand up for themselves and call things out, all this bad behavior in show business and beyond in society these days.
Yeah, I think there must have been some really lousy office Christmas parties this year.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I just sort of picture guys with their hands, raised so that everyone can see them, moving around the perimeter of the room towards the bar. I have mixed feelings about the Me Too movement, actually. I mean, overall, I think it's probably a very good thing. Women shouldn't have to put up with much of what we have to put up with, particularly in the workplace, I guess. But I also feel that sometimes it's an awfully wide broom, and I'm not sure that every single incident falls into this same category. It's not all Harvey Weinstein. And that part worries me a little bit. And also the sort of lack of due process. When you're tried in the court of public opinion, you're just screwed. I don't know. And sometimes, I don't know, I just feel like every woman's rule is not exactly the same. And honestly, guys are dunderheads. That's part of their problem. So I don't know. I just don't know for sure.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is the movie 9 to 5, addressed a lot of this. In the, what was that, early 80s. Whereas if you go back to many, many movies and much of our pop culture, certainly much of our music, sends totally the wrong message. So I don't know. Sometimes it's not going to be uniform. That's for sure. It's important that the laws be uniform, of course, but each person's, what they respond to and what they're offended by and all that, it's really going to be different. It's not all the same. So I don't know. Part of me feels bad for really stupid guys.
Well, so then what do you feel about where we're at with all the things going on, in Washington in particular, I guess, with Trump, and then I'll move into the more goofy, fun stuff. But since you mentioned that,
well, I'll tell you, I watch it in horror. I am not an expert even on constitutional law or on history, but I am right now reading a book about Mussolini because I have a real gap in my dark body of knowledge. As soon as I'm reading this book about Mussolini, I'm going to read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich because I want to be aware of what the early symptoms are of tyranny and dictatorship. Because I'm sure that people in Germany didn't ever think that could happen either. It is worrisome. At the same time, when I'm on the road, not at home I don't even know how to turn the television on, but when I'm on the road, I have a tendency to put on MSNBC, and it's not healthy to watch that all day. It gives you a stomach ache for one thing, and I know I'm right about that because of the ads. It's all about some sort of digestive medication, so they know they're causing that problem. All day long, they're telling you, like, we're going to tell you what you want to hear any second now. And it's like when I play with a cat toy, I'll have I have like some cat toys. It's got like a stick with a string attached to the end of it, and then like a fake mouse attached to the bottom of the string. And when the cat comes near it, you pull it a little bit and move it away. And that's very much what it's like watching MSNBC.
Yeah, it's like my dad and mom. They have the complete opposite problem because they're addicted to Fox News. And I'm telling
Well, it isn't the opposite problem, though. And I say that to the crowd sometimes. I mean, I don't think I attract probably a tremendous amount of Fox viewers. And those that I may have once had, I probably have pissed off enough in recent years that maybe they don't come anymore. I don't know. But I always say to the crowd, I go, look at it. If you happen to be of the opposite, political belief of me, I say I have two things to say to you. The first is you're welcome here. And the second is you're suffering the same problem because Fox programming does the same thing. It's with the panels and with the speculation, and they have the same amount of time to cover. And so, we're looking for MSNBC viewers just keep hoping to hear, he's impeached. And the Fox viewers just keep waiting to hear, he's coronated. But it gives you the same stomach ache.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so then as far as like something more positive, you've got this terrific book out, The Totally Unscientific Study of the Search for Human Happiness. So there's all this horrible stuff going on, but you, Paula, are here to help us find happiness. So what inspired the search for this, and what was maybe the funnest thing that you did in your quest?
Well, in the first place, when I thought of the idea, I mean, it just plain sounded fun to me. And here's, how out of touch with reality I must have been at that time, because I had this idea that the publisher would pay for the the expenses of each of the experiments, because the book is a series of experiments doing things that I or other people thought would make me happy. And each chapter is written as an experiment with the hypothesis and the conditions and the variables and field notes, et cetera, et cetera. But the real question that I'm answering in the book is not whether or not I would enjoy something. That I already had pretty good handle on what I enjoy. But the question was, what could I do that would leave me with a bounce so that when I returned to my regular life, I felt good. And my regular life being raising a house full of kids and animals and being a stand-up comic and just being stuck being me 24 hours a day. So the analysis part of each chapter is just that. It's the story of my regular life. And it took 7 years to write that book. Wow. And so it ended up and I didn't know it was going to take me 7 years, but I did know that the heart of the book would be in my family life, and I also knew that each of the experiments would be fun playgrounds for jokes, because the book turned into a lot more than I expected it to. Its number one job is to be funny, so the analysis part was it ends up telling the story of my kids growing up. Basically, by the time I'm finished writing the book, I don't know. I think I'm the only one in the house anymore.
So then, what was the funnest part of what you were out of all your experiments? You seem to have a good time with driving the fast cars.
The fast car was fun. It's not the answer, that's for sure.
What was it? It was like a Lamborghini. Right?
I'll tell you, the answers are sadly so unromantic. So much what our parents always told us, which is, go outside, get some exercise, I think rigorous exercise is. I mean, at one point, the first chapter is the Get Fit experiment, and at one point during that experiment, and that alone took several months. But at one point while I was doing that experiment, I have a lot of cats at home, and at one point I was carrying a bag just in my regular life. I was carrying a trash bag full of about probably 30 pounds or so of animal waste down the alley to the trash can. And as I'm walking down the alley, a route that I've taken many, many times, it occurred to me that I felt good. And I thought, my gosh, it can't be the animal waste. And I've done that chore, every day that I'm home, I do that same chore. And so it can't be the experience of throwing away, kitty litter and waste. It dawned on me, like, geez, you know what? It has to be the getting fit. Being able to move more freely with less weight, for one thing, but also just more freely as a result of working out. It makes you just feel so much more capable. For one thing, I feel like I'm not waiting for life to just act on me as much as I am when I'm not in good shape.
Well, another chapter you do the get up and dancing. So, do you mind letting people know, some little basics of that, like what you experienced when you got into dancing?
I decided to take swing dance because I saw some people doing it on the promenade in Santa Monica one time, and it just looked like so much fun. I love that style of music. I love like the 40s kind of. I love swing music. It's generally happy. It's about my dance teacher says it's all about being in love or eating. And they're very happy songs, and I like that. And of course, the reason I thought it would be a good experiment with happiness is because it involves social life. You're being with other people, and that's good. And you're moving, so it seemed to have that trifecta of good things for one's brain and one's emotional well-being. And so I signed up for group classes. With this dance teacher, a wonderful teacher named Rusty Frank, and I sucked so badly that I was slowing the group down. So I had to, I eventually jettisoned to private classes for a while, and I was still so bad that my teacher couldn't even use the upbeat music. She had to use the blues. I do the Charleston, the Fire and Rain. It looks like Tai Chi when I do it. And then eventually, I worked at it, and I went, I did the same thing as I did with the Get Fit experiment, which is I went to as many classes because I took, taking private lessons, I just scheduled them whenever I could. I went to as many classes as I could each week, working around my schedule of taking care of my children and working on the road. And so I really had accrued a pretty lot of time, not years certainly, but a lot of time working at this swing dance thing before I finally went to my first social dance. And it was harrowing. It was everything first of all, everything was too fast. I couldn't, and the other thing is everything I thought I knew fell out of my head the second I would get out on the dance floor with anybody. And the first dance I did with like, a stranger, for some odd reason, I let the guy walk me out to right in front of the band. And so, it's, so I think I was screwing up the sax player, because it was such an odd spectacle that the man was watching. He was unable to attend to his spit valve. I continued with dance lessons for a long time. Eventually, although I don't say this in the book because I just stuck to the swing dance experiment. But eventually, I did jettison to, in addition to swing.